let's work on assignment RAW versus JPEG. And there's a whole module devoted to showing you the difference. For this assignment, you can use either your DSLR or your cell phone. But you cannot use both. We're going to work outside. Your image is going to be multi-layered with a foreground, a middle ground, and a background. You're going to place an object in the middle of your composition. Any object will do. You're going to photograph the same object twice. The first photograph is going to be in RAW. Depends on what kind of camera you have for a DSLR. It might say .raw or .crw, Canon versus Nikon. It might be different for a Sony. If you're using a cell phone, it's going to be .dng if you're using an iPhone. If you're using another type of phone, I'm not sure what format it's going to be. The second photograph is going to be a JPEG. If you're remember to change your settings each time. So you're going to change your camera in the back from RAW to JPEG. And that is included in the directions in the module. You're going to complete the table. You're going to write your name, the make and model of your camera, and you're going to decide what you're going to use, a DSLR or a cell phone. It's up to you. Either one is fine. Only complete one part of the table with the camera you use. Do not use more than one camera for this assignment. If you'd like to learn more about JPEG versus HEC and what a HEC file means compared to a JPEG, click on these links. Also, if you want to see a comparison of files, RAW files versus different types of files, click on this link below. April Pro RAW review. What are you going to turn in? 2 photographs, one in RAW and the other one in JPEG. You're also going to complete the table. So we click on the link, we see the table. Make sure to label everything correctly. So here, if you're submitting a DSLR, the file name for your table is 03 _ last name, first name. It's actually the same if you're using a cell phone as well. Make sure to label your images correctly for the type of photograph or the type of camera that you're using. So here we have photograph examples with file size. In this example, we have 3 files listed: HEC files, JPEG, and DNG. You'll notice the HEC files are the smaller images, which are a smaller version of a JPEG. And if we look at the RAW files, which are the largest files, it's actually 60 megabytes compared to 1.6 HEC file. So let's take a look at those files. So here we have our RAW file or a DNG file. Here's our JPEG, and then here's our HEC file. There's really not a lot of difference in here when we look at them. You would see a difference if we did a close-up and we're going to blow them up and print them large. The next comparison is a DSLR. You can see a substantial difference between the DNG or the RAW file, which is 70.7 megabytes, compared to a JPEG, which is 13.4 megabytes. And then here's a photograph of the JPEG. Now, because Canvas doesn't allow DNG or HEC files to be put up on Canvas, I only have shown you the examples of the JPEGs. But we've seen them here in Bridge. Let's go ahead and look at the DSLR. Here's a DSLR photograph. Here's the JPEG. There's not a huge difference. You can see a change in light, like maybe a cloud came over. But at this size, you're not going to see a big difference. but you are going to see a big difference in the file size, which we can obviously see here. HEC files are the smallest files. Then it goes JPEG and then DNG. I recommend for this class that you photograph in JPEG and whatever you use, either your cell phone or your DSLR. In addition, I want you to review the rubric at the bottom of the assignment. And it goes over the amount of points for every component. You submit the table, you get 5. You submit the table with the correct file name, you get an extra 2 points. You don't correctly label it, you're going to lose points. You submit your RAW or your JPEG or your CRW file, or it would be also, actually, I could change that. DNG, right? So DNG is another word for RAW. So let me change that right now. You're going to get you're going to get 4 points. Also, if you labeled it correctly according to what camera you're using, the same thing for JPEGs, and also even to the point that you put your name of your camera and your model. Altogether, 20 points. Remember, once again, to review the rubric on what I'm looking for as I'm grading. It's not a big surprise. Remember to look at what to turn in, 2 photographs and 1 table. I look forward to looking at your photographs.